Hello guys, welcome back to my another After Effects tutorial. In this After Effects tutorial, we are going to create this. Here you can see, I have already imported the files required for this project. You can download them from below, link in the description. You can also download this complete After Effects template for free. Check the link in the description. Now let's see how to create this logo reveal. Create a new composition. Name it as Glossy Logo. Here I will set the time duration to 6 seconds, remaining everything will be same. Now let's create a new solid layer. This will be a noise layer. For this layer, in Effects and Preset, search for Fractal Noise. Add it to the solid noise layer. For fractal noise, change fractal type to swirly. Change noise type to spline. Contrast to 140. Change brightness to 15. Select invert. Set complexity to 3. In transform, uncheck uniform scaling. Set the scale width to 200. Now increase scale height to near about 3000. Perfect. Make sure you are at the start. Create keyframe for offset. Position it as shown. At end of the timeline. Change offset position as shown. You can see the preview. Select perspective offset. Perfect. Now at start of the timeline, create keyframe for evolution. At end of the timeline, change evolution to 1. Perfect. Now in Effects and Preset, search for tritone. Add it to the noise layer. Here set the midtone color. Set the color as shown. Now in Effects and Preset, search for Fastbox Blur. Add it to the noise layer. Set blur radius to 15. Select repeat edge pixels. Here I will slightly reduce the blur amount. Perfect. Now let's recompose this layer. Name it as texture. Select move all attribute into the new composition. Perfect. Now from project panel, add the logo to the timeline. Scale your logo if needed. Here I will scale my logo. Now pre-compose it. Name it as logo. For texture composition, change track matte to alpha matte logo. For texture composition, in Effects and Preset, search for CC Glass, add it to the texture composition. In Surface, change bump map to logo. Set softness to 15. Set height to 40. Set displacement to 250. Now for texture composition, in Effects and Preset, search for CC Blob Eyes, add it to the texture composition. In Blobiness, change blob layer to logo. Change softness to 5. change cutaway to 0. You can see the preview. Here our glossy logo is created. Now let's create another composition. Name it as logo animation. Now let's create a new solid. This will be our background layer. In Effects and Preset, search for Gradient Ramp, add it to the solid background layer. Here you can set any color of your choice. Adjust the start and end of the ramp. Change ramp shape to radial ramp. Now from the project panel, add the logo composition to the timeline. In Effects and Preset, search for Fill. Add it to the logo composition. Set the fill color to brown. Now in Effects and Preset, search for CC Radial Fast Blur. Add it to the logo composition. Now at near about 20 frames. Position the center, as shown. Create keyframe for center. Now go at 4 seconds. Change the position of center, as shown. Press U to view keyframes. Let's place this start keyframe at 1 second. You can see the preview. Now at 2 seconds. We will set the amount to 70. Create keyframe for amount. Now go at 3 seconds. For logo composition, press U to view keyframes. Create keyframe for amount. Now at near about 4 seconds and 10 frames. Change amount to 0. Now come back to 20 frames. Change amount to 0. Now for this logo composition, press T to bring up opacity. At 1 second create keyframe for opacity. At start of the timeline, change opacity to 0%. Perfect. Now let's create duplicate of this logo composition. For duplicate, here we will change the fill color. For logo composition, press U to view created keyframes. Here we will change the fast blur amount. For second keyframe of blur, change amount to 15. Also for next keyframe, change amount to 15. Perfect. Now let's add the glossy logo composition to the timeline. For glossy logo, in Effects and Preset, search for CC Light Sweep. Add it to the glossy logo composition. For light sweep, let's change direction, set it to 10 degree. Now position the center as shown. Now at 20 frames. Create keyframe for center. For glossy logo composition, press U to view keyframe. Now at 3 seconds. Change center position of light sweep as shown. Perfect. Now from project panel, add the logo composition to the timeline. In Effects and Preset, search for Fill, add it to the logo composition. Set fill color to white. Now in Effects and Preset, search for Vegas. Add it to the logo composition. For Vegas, change segments to 1. Change the blend mode to transparent. Change outline color to orange. Now at start of the timeline, create keyframe for rotation. Now at 3 seconds. Change rotation to 1. Let's preview this layer individually. You can see the outline effects. Change the width to 3. Select random phase. Perfect. Now in Effects and Preset, search for Fast Box Blur. Add it to logo composition. Set blur radius to 4. Select Repeat Edge Pixels. Now let's create duplicate of this logo composition. Press U to view keyframes. For start keyframe, change rotation to 180. Now for end keyframe, change rotation to 180 degrees. You can see the preview. Here if you want you can change the outline color. Now from the project panel, let's add the bokeh media file to the timeline. Change mode to Add. Now add the flare media file to the timeline. Change mode to Add. Position the flare below logo as shown. Change all layers to 3D, except the background layer and bokeh media file. Now create a new camera. Create a null object. Change null to 3D. Now let's parent camera to null object. For null, press P to bring up position. Now at 3 seconds, create keyframe for position. At start of the timeline, change position value for Z-axis as shown. Now let's create a new adjustment layer. For adjustment layer, in Effects and Preset, search for Transform. Add it to the adjustment layer. At start, create keyframe for opacity. Now at 1 second, change opacity to 0%. Select keyframes, change keyframe assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Now for this adjustment layer, in Effects and Preset, search for Camera Lens Blur. Add it to the adjustment layer. Now at 1 second, create keyframe for blur radius, change blur radius to 40. Now come back at 10 frames, change blur radius to 0. Select Repeat Edge Pixels. For Camera Lens Blur, select Created Keyframes, change Keyframe Assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Now for this adjustment layer. In Effects and Preset, search for Optics Compensation. Add it to the adjustment layer. At 1 second, create keyframe for Field of View, change Field of View to 100. Now at start of the timeline, change it to 0. Select Reverse Lens Distortion. For Optics Compensation, select Keyframes, change Keyframe Assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Now we will position this adjustment layer at 3 seconds. Now let's create duplicate of this background layer. Place it above adjustment layer. Position it at 3 seconds. For this background layer, you can change the ramp color. Perfect. Now from project panel, let's add the logo composition to the timeline. For logo, press T to bring up opacity. At 1 second, create keyframe for opacity. At start, change opacity to 0%. Now position the logo composition at 3 seconds. Now let's create a new solid layer. I will name it as black. For this solid layer, press T to bring up opacity. At start, create keyframe for opacity. Now at 1 second, change opacity to 0%. Now at 5 seconds, create keyframe for opacity. And at end of the timeline, change opacity to 100%. Now let's create a new solid. Name it as frame. Now double click on the rectangle tool to create mask. For mask 1, let's change the path, change unit to % of source. Change top to 10%, bottom to 90%. Select inverted. Here for this background layer, we need to create opacity keyframes. At 4 seconds, create keyframe for opacity. Now at 3 seconds, change opacity to 0%. Now let's see the complete preview. Perfect, here our glossy logo reveal is created. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. See you next week with another awesome tutorial.